All right, you guys, today we are going to talk about new construction.
Yeah.
The Birmingham market is absolutely on fire when it comes to new construction, and we just want to kind of talk through some of the pros and cons of maybe buying a brand new construction as opposed to a resale home. Also, just what are the ins and outs of buying a new construction home. So let's dive right in.
Well, let's say, first of all, that if you've ever heard people say that there's no greater test in marriage than having your first baby and building a home, buying new construction is not the same thing as building
Right,
a home. It's
right.
it's a very different process. And so if you have this vision of, having to build a home, that's not really what this looks like. All
Right.
right.
Well, so new construction. Why would someone want to buy new construction in this market?
Yeah. Well, and I think people like new construction in most markets. The only other market that I can think of that people really were going away from them was in 2008, the Great Recession. It just made more sense to buy resale homes that had been foreclosed. But in a lot of cases, I mean, you can buy a new construction home and it's nice and it's fresh and it's clean. I do
Because nobody wants to live in other people's dirt.
Nobody wants to live in other people's dirt.
Sometimes you have to, but
Well, but I do think we also need to talk about there is a group of buyers, and I kind of might be in that group where I mean the idea of a fresh, bright, pretty new house is fine, but there are some fantastic, old, historic, charming cottages here in Birmingham. Brandy's laughing at me because that is not her style. But there are a group of people that they really don't want new construction. They want something old, and they want to spend their energy and put their heart into to refurbishing a home. But for the people who say, "Gosh, I would love to have new construction," why does it generally appeal to people? Well, I mean, the first thing is if you have owned other homes, some of the big headaches are every few years you've got to paint the home, you've got to, make sure the roof is working, you've got to make sure the HVAC is working, and so when you have new construction, for the most part, for the first several years, it kind of feels like you just don't have to think about maintenance.
right, right. So, I mean, so the appeal with new construction will be low maintenance. Another big deal to a lot of people will be energy efficiency.
Yeah.
Like, when we moved into our home, which was a 1990s home, you could feel, every wind blow through the windows. So, efficient windows are a big deal.
Well, and again, I mean, energy efficiency is an important thing. It's important for our society, but it also translates into the wallet, right?
Right,
So,
right.
if you buy one of those cute little cottages that I would love to have that you would never have, the heating and cooling bill might be $300 to $400 a month. If you bought a home twice that size, but it is new with the new technology, the green
Right.
technology we have, that's new construction, that the heating and cooling bills might be half or less than half of that.
Right. Well, and then the other thing you get kind of with new construction, you're going to generally nowadays get that open concept, which has been a hot spot for a very long time. But what we're finding is people is all things, come back around. And so now we're finding people who are like, I don't really like that big open area. I would really like to have a separate kitchen. But traditionally in the new homes, new construction, you're going to get that open concept.
You're going to see a lot in new construction, and we look at a lot of new construction with our buyers. You're going to see a lot of whatever is the latest trends. You're going to be
Right.
able to get it there.
Right.
And so, as you said, it is kind of interesting where there for a while, some of the new construction layouts were basically a big square, and you had your kitchen and your living space there together, and the only separate rooms were a bathroom and a bedroom.
Right.
Today, we're starting to see some of the designs become a little more modern, where there's a little bit more delineation or separation from the traditional open concept. But the whole point here is, as you buy new construction, you can find more trending designs and
Right.
layouts.
Right. So another big factor when it comes to new construction homes are the incentives that you just don't get when you are looking for a home that's being resold.
That's right.
So builders are offering incentives such as helping with closing costs
Right.
if you use their lender.
That's right.
They also are offering things like the ability
To do upgrades.
right.
And again, I mean, with the interest rate buy downs that we see, I mean, they can't, it depends, but it can be significant and,
Right.
and a significant improvement on your house payment. But even, to have $15,000, there's one builder here in Birmingham now that offers $15,000 toward upgrades. I mean,
Right.
that's pretty nice when you think about the cost of, blinds or, a certain type of granite or certain fixtures in the home.
Right. Well, and then when you're looking at those incentives, what you need to sit down and figure out, like you may end up paying less cash out of pocket up front on the new constructions than you might would on a resale home. So it would I mean, to sit and really go through those things, it may make a difference in, what you can afford.
Right.
We are going to take a look at a brand new construction in Hoover, Alabama at Smith Farms. It is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, just over 2,200 square feet, quartz countertops, giant soaring 9-foot ceilings. We want to let you guys see a picture of what new construction will buy you in the Hoover area at just right under $500,000.
And I think what's interesting about that Smith Farms neighborhood is a lot of times new construction happens on the outskirts as cities grow, north, south, east, and west. What was really cool was this was a farm here in Hoover,
Right.
which is right in the middle of so many things. And they were able to carve up a few acres and create this subdivision, which is kind of cool because it's not traditionally new construction here in this part of Birmingham.
All right, so we've been talking about new construction. We've talked about resale a little bit. So you might be wondering, should I buy new construction or should I buy resale? What are the pros and cons of both of those?
Yeah, let's kind of pick that apart a little bit, unpack that some. Well, first of all, as we mentioned and kind of joked about it a minute ago, but there are some people that just don't. They will always prefer to have nice, clean, new, never been lived in before, right? That's just going to be there. But when you've got new construction, a couple of things is you can customize
Right.
to some degree. And some of the larger builders, again, we're not talking about a fully custom build where you are building a house. We're
Right,
talking about
right.
new construction
Right.
with some of the larger builders here in town, and so you can come in and in a lot of ways you can pick the color coordination of your floors, your
Right,
countertops. You can pick, if you want nickel fixtures versus bronze versus black. So
Right.
some of those customizations you can make, which is really nicely. And so that's kind of cool. In an existing home, especially if it's a few years old, you certainly can come in and do all the renovation.
Right. Right.
But how nice is it to know that when you close and it's finished, you just move right in,
Right.
right?
Right. Well, and some other things about an established neighborhood that you may not get as much of in a brand new construction neighborhood is kind of like the trees. Like that's kind of a big
Right.
deal. Like if you're in an established neighborhood, you've got trees that are soaring
Great
over the
point.
home and providing lots of shade where you may not have that in a new construction neighborhood.
In addition to that point you're making about the trees, some of the new construction builders today that we see on a larger scale, they have really, really small lots.
Right.
And so generally you can have a nice, cute little backyard. If you've got a really small dog or, if you want a fenced in backyard, it's not
Right.
hard to do.
Right. Right.
But what we find in a lot of different parts of the city is the older homes sometimes can have nice large yards. So if having a much larger yard is important to you, then it might be that a pre-existing home is going to be more attractive.
Right. And another thing with new construction homes versus resale homes, if you're purchasing a resale home, there's room for negotiation. A lot of times, well, probably 100% of the time, that you're not negotiating down on a new construction price. Like they may throw in some amenities or different things like that, but they're not going to come down on the price of the home.
Yeah, in general, and of course, it's always going to depend on the market that we're in, right? But as we're working either on the buyer side or the seller side for pre-existing homes, there's generally negotiation that happens for the most part for the last several years. But with new construction, if you can imagine, and you'll be glad for this if you ever buy into a new construction neighborhood, but if you bought your house at a certain price and then literally the very next week the builder starts selling them for 1%, 2%, 3% less, what that does is it basically could make you upside down in your equity really, really quickly.
Right.
So, what we find is that there's really not a lot of negotiation with a builder in a new construction neighborhood for the most part. The price is the price. It's kind of like the newer trend with car sales nowadays.
Okay, so you have been convinced that new construction is the way to go, and that is the next step that you want to take. But we have one thing that you need to know.
And that is, hey, just realize this, and it's not always really clear. When you're considering new construction, let us go in and introduce you because we can represent you through the process. And so, and for the most part, most of the companies that we work with here are fantastic companies. They're good builders. And I don't know, if everybody knows this, but a builder here in Alabama is required to do a full builder's warranty. And so there are just, certain nuances and important parts of the contract that we want to make sure, if you are our client, we want to make sure that you're clear on what you are actually signing along those lines with warranties and other expectations.
Right. And if you would like a list of the incentives that our local Birmingham builders are providing in this current market right now, drop us a message below and we will send you the incentives that are available right now.
That's right.
What do you guys think? Are you leaning towards a new construction home or are you leaning towards a resale home? Let us know what you are thinking in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, make sure that you like it and subscribe so that you can get the latest news on Birmingham real estate.
We are Mike and Brandy Brown with Keller Williams Realty in Birmingham, Alabama. Feel free to give us a call at 205-368-5995. Or shoot us an email at info@mbrownrealty.com.